Thank you, Honorable Speaker. So rise to support passage of this budget policy statement for the financial year 2023, 2025, 2026, and the medium term. Honorable Speaker, this BPS comes at a time when our economy is recovering from what was in 2022 a very dilapidated economy. You remember, Honorable Speaker, members, you remember this administration came into office in 2022 when our inflation rates were very high, the exchange rates were very high, and today, including the exchange rates, Honorable Speaker, today we are at a position where now the inflation rate is at an average of about 3.5 in 2025 February, as opposed to the 9.6% that was there in 2022 October when this administration came into place. And this has not been easy to achieve, but it has been a result of a lot of concerted effort to reduce the cost of commodities, especially food items, and the massive investment that has been done in the agricultural sector has indeed paid off for our country. And today, we are not only food secure, but this food security has also ensured that our inflation rates, our exchange rates has also stabilized, and even our interest rates have begun coming down, and you've seen the rush that is there among us commercial banks to reduce on the interest rates. Honorable Speaker, you'll see that our 91-day treasury bills have declined from 15.7% in December of 2023 to the current rate of about 9.6% in February of this year. Again, our exchange rates, as I mentioned, from a high of 160, 159 about a year ago to an average now of 128 to 130 shillings. And if you look at those who buy the dollar, we'll see in the last 1 month, it has almost stabilized about 128 to 129. Honorable Speaker, this year's BPS, or budget policy statement, basically highlights the progress that we have made in the implementation of the BITA strategy, or the bottom-up economic transformation agenda that was anchored on the fourth medium-term plan of our Vision 2030. And that tells you, Honorable Speaker, that we continue being consistent in pursuit of the Vision 2030 and ensuring that all our medium-term plans fit into the bigger goal and vision of 2030. Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury, when they submitted this budget policy statement this year, members will note, and I believe even as I thank our Deputy Speaker for able leadership of the Liaison Committee and the entire Liaison Committee that has considered this BPS together with our departmental committees, they will appreciate that this BPS has been prepared in the backdrop of an economy that is rising, an economy that is recovering steadily and stabilizing. And indeed, we can now proudly say that our economy has stabilized. The debt challenge that we had is also being addressed very well, and I'm happy that even this budget policy statement has laid very good or special emphasis on fiscal consolidation to reduce our public debt vulnerabilities while providing fiscal space to deliver on essential goods and services, especially in ensuring that we have adequate funds to roll out the development agenda that we have promised the people of Kenya. And I am happy that even as we assert we have stabilized our economy, we are also opening up the fiscal space to be able to roll out development programs. And I must also use this opportunity to thank and recognize the efforts I have seen even from the Office of the Comptroller of Budget. And Honorable Speaker, recently when we said that there are issues in the Comptroller of Budget's office in terms of accountability, when they do well, we also recognize, and I must recognize the work that I saw her roll out yesterday in terms of establishing a framework on approval processes that will ensure counties and county governments are able to access money, and the approval process is seamless. And it is clear the criteria on which approvals are made from that office, so that governors and county government officers are not extorted by officers in that office, because it is a fact of life. that extortion has been going on. But I am glad I saw yesterday that action has been taken following those calls that we made in this House, Honorable Speaker. And also in ensuring that there's a criteria set in terms of approval, even for development work, so that we do not spend all our money on recurrent expenditure, both in the county level of government and also in the national government, Honorable Speaker. And I'm sure even towards the end of this week, without anticipating debates, even as we work on the Division of Revenue Bill that will be coming for first reading, hopefully before we commence on the short recess, these are some of the issues even our county governments we look into. Honorable Speaker, as I said, the efforts to bring down our public debt are quite evident, and people will bear me witness that our public debt is on a downward path that is consistent with our debt anchor as passed by this House and our colleagues in the Senate. I've said this, Honorable Speaker, that this BPS is anchored on those two issues of fiscal consolidation and proper management of our debt vulnerability. And Honorable Speaker, on tax measures, Honorable Speaker, part of that fiscal consolidation efforts, as we reduce our public expenditure, Honorable Speaker, we also look at boosting our revenues. And I'm happy that this budget policy statement speaks to measures towards enhancing our revenues. And I'm happy that this has been brought to us as a combination of tax administrative matters, not just increment of taxes, tax policy reforms that include strengthening our tax administration to enhance compliance, in order to expand our tax base, but also more importantly, to reduce our tax expenditures, Honorable Speaker. And in reduction of tax expenditures, Honorable Speaker, members will remember even last year's finance bill had very good measures on reducing tax expenditure. Very good measures. Because tax expenditure, Honorable Speaker, at the end of the day benefits more of business people than the consumer. And especially in the area of value-added taxation. Because that is the area that we are most vulnerable in terms of high tax expenditures. Because you find so many exemptions on VAT and other taxes that ought to benefit consumers but end up only benefiting the traders and business community. And Honorable Speaker, I am glad that the National Treasury has seen the need to ensure that we minimize on tax expenditures while also leveraging on technology. And I must speak to this, Honorable Speaker, because we have been told over the years we will leverage on technology to enhance revenue mobilization and revenue collection, but we never see it coming. I know and I'm aware the Kenya Revenue Authority is working on a robust program to relook at their systems, right from their customs system, their income tax systems, Honorable Speaker, and I do hope that it will not just be another year of talk, and endless talk, that we will see the actualization of these measures to leverage on technology, revolutionize our tax processes, seal loopholes where revenue leaks out of the system, and generally enhance efficiency through the use of technology, both in our MDAs and also leverage on technology, even for taxpayers, to make it much easier for taxpayers to settle their tax bills and their tax arrears, and also be able to communicate more effectively with the revenue officers and the revenue systems at KRA. And Honorable Speaker, I say that because there are also measures, and I spoke to it last week, because I see, again, in this budget policy statement, in terms of strengthening our expenditure control and improving efficiency and effectiveness in public spending, the National Treasury is telling us that they will also ensure that they leverage on technology, on e-procurement, to have an end-to-end e-procurement system to maximize the value for money and increase transparency in procurement. Honorable Speaker, these are very good semantics. And I reminded the National Treasury last week that none other than the President, in his State of the Nation address towards the end of last year, committed before this House that he has directed the National Treasury to ensure that e-procurement is a reality before the end of the first quarter. Let me remind CS John Buddy and PS Kipto and those who are in charge of the National Treasury. We have less than 45 days to the end of the first quarter. By the time they bring the annual estimates, we want a report on the actualization of that directive by the President on e-procurement, because we cannot talk about efficient procurement, efficient use of public resources in terms of public expenditure if we are not leveraging on technology, Honorable Speaker. And I know there is immense resistance in government on e-procurement, but it must be done because it is the right thing to do for the country. It may not be popular with our procurement officers in the public sector, Honorable Speaker. It may not be popular with many business people who rig the system to get tenders that they do not deserve or for amounts that do not give value for money. But it is the right thing to do for the country, and we must insist as a House, and that's why I have taken liberty, Honorable Speaker, to remind the National Treasury that as they bring their annual estimates later next month, they must also give us a report on the status of implementation of e-procurement. Honorable Speaker, lastly, in conclusion, let me urge the House now that we have concluded with elections of some of the departmental committees that had the election this morning, including the Budget and Appropriations Committee. As I congratulate the Honorable Atandi and the Honorable Robert Pukose, I want to urge them and all members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, adhere to what we said yesterday. Do your work in the best interest of the country and to ensure there is equitable share of resources across the country and across all our counties, and also to ensure that the budget ceilings as approved in this BPS process are adhered to by all MDAs.
The Honorable Pareyo Agnes, followed by the Honorable Obara Eve.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving